My best friend can't handle that my life is better than hers and wants me to cancel my engagement because I've got a great fiancé. So I made my life even better when I kicked her out of it. Mary and I practically grew up as sisters. We were neighbors, and our parents started arranging playdates for us before we could even walk. From kindergarten to secondary school, we did everything together. If I wasn't at her house, she was at mine. I trusted her completely and never thought of her as anything other than my best friend. Things changed when Mary moved away from university. At first, I missed her, but over time, I noticed how much easier my life felt without her constant presence. I wasn't being criticized, guilt-tripped, or forced to justify my choices anymore. It became clear how much control she'd had over me. Mary had a way of dominating every aspect of my life. She'd dismiss my hobbies and pressure me to quit them, and if she didn't like one of my friends, I'd have to cut ties. You could call me a pushover, but it's hard to see the manipulation for what it is when you grow up with someone like that. Things really came to a head when I met my now fiancé, Dave. He's amazing, kind, supportive, and everything I've ever wanted in a partner. We clicked instantly, and he's honestly the best thing that's ever happened to me. But, of course, Mary didn't approve. She immediately tried to plant seeds of doubt, saying he was too old, he'd cheat, or he was only using me. Thankfully, for once, I didn't listen to her, and I'm so glad I didn't. In December, Dave surprised me with a dream vacation. During the trip, he proposed. Everything about it was perfect, he planned every little detail, and it was more magical than I could have ever imagined. I was over the moon and couldn't wait to share the news with everyone. Naturally, I told Mary, expecting at least some excitement, but instead, she downplayed the entire thing. She nitpicked the proposal, saying how she would have done it differently and what could have been better. It stung, but I brushed it off and reminded her that it was my proposal, not hers. We met in person for the first time in months a few weeks later. That's when things completely fell apart. Out of nowhere, Mary told me I should break up with Dave. When I asked why, her reasoning had nothing to do with me. Instead, she compared him to her boyfriend, Julian, saying things like, Dave makes more money than Julian and Dave can give you everything, while I have to work for what I want. It was clear she wasn't concerned about me, she was just jealous. She couldn't handle the fact that, for once, my life seemed better than hers. That was the breaking point for me. I told her to leave my house, and afterward, I sent her a long message explaining how hurt and disappointed I was. I told her her behavior was unacceptable and that I didn't want her to contact me again. Since then, she's told everyone in our social circle. Mutual friends and even some family members have reached out, saying I was too harsh and should have handled things differently. They said, that's just how Mary is, you've known her your whole life. She's always been in the spotlight and gotten what she wanted. Some even accused me of breaking her heart and told me it was wrong to choose my fiancé over a lifelong friend. Even my mom said she expected better of me, and that's what's making me question my decision. Did I overreact? Mary has been a huge part of my life for as long as I can remember. She has her flaws, but we've also shared countless good times and memories. Am I throwing away years of friendship over this? Should I try to fix things, or was cutting her off the right choice? I don't know exactly what Mary told my friends and family since most of the messages I received were pretty vague. I also didn't ask my mom what Mary said had happened. I was too angry to have a calm conversation after my mom told me I was being dramatic, which led to me yelling at her. I know Mary admitted to asking me to break up with my fiancé, but I don't know if she explained why she wanted me to. Lastly, my parents raised Mary like a second daughter, and she's always incredibly kind in front of them. I guess that's why they didn't believe me. Maybe they're just in denial because it's easier for them to handle. I don't know. But I get it. Hearing something bad about someone you like for the first time can make you want to deny it. Update: I visited my parents today and found out that Mary told them that Dave was cheating on me. My dad ended up believing me, but my mom is still on the fence and unsure of who to believe. We visited my parents around noon today, talked about everything, and tried to understand what had happened exactly. Turns out, Mary really was telling a made-up story while sprinkling in some truth here and there. She told people that Dave was cheating on me with a coworker of his, which is why she told me to break up with him. She said that this affair had been going on for at least 4 months and that she knew about it because she'd seen them together at a cafe in a different city a few months ago. I assumed this would be true. Why didn't she inform me or my parents sooner? Like, imagine your best friend's boyfriend is cheating on her and you know about it, wouldn't you tell her right away? This is also why I can't understand why my parents would believe her in the first place. According to her story, I got incredibly mad, kicked her out, and haven't spoken to her since. Now, some of it is true as you should know from my original post. For one, her telling me to break up with my fiancé, as well as me kicking her out and cutting contact. However, the whole story about Dave cheating on me is something I've heard about for the first time today, plus it's completely made up. Just to remind you, she told me to break up with him because Dave's a better boyfriend than Julian, her boyfriend. My mom said that. She didn't believe Dave was cheating on me, but was disappointed in me for how I handled the situation, especially since I couldn't have known if Mary wasn't telling the truth. She thought cutting off my best friend for being concerned about me was too harsh and that we should have talked it out. I also assumed that she was scared to lose longtime friends when I made contact with Mary, which also turned out to be true. Mary told her mother what happened, And according to my dad, Mary's mother is mad at me for treating her daughter badly and accused my mom of not raising me right. So there's that as well. After my mom explained what Mary had told her, I went on to tell her what really went down. The jealousy, the manipulation, the lies, all of it. She didn't believe me at first and said that I was blowing things out of proportion, that Mary had good intentions but simply didn't know how to communicate them well. I showed her some text messages between Mary and me and told her about past incidents, and my fiancé tried to back me up as best as he could since my mom wasn't listening at all and kept defending Mary. To say that I dug deep and told my parents about all sorts of things is an understatement. I even went as far as telling them about a SEG incident, so yeah, I didn't leave out any details. My dad believed me from the get-go, but my mom kept going back to how great of a person Mary is and how she just wants the best for me. She also kept saying that I've never had an issue with Mary and that I'm now creating unnecessary drama because of a misunderstanding. At some point my dad simply told her to shut up and to stop making excuses for Mary, so at least I have one parent on my side. My dad has always been a very non-confrontational person and never really stood his ground, but I found out that he thought Mary didn't have a good influence on me growing up. He also told my mom that he wanted to limit the contact between Mary and me when we were younger, but my mom didn't see his point and let our friendship continue. So, basically, this whole issue could have been avoided if my mom had put her friendship with Mary's mother aside for her own family. Great. In the end, my mom said that she'd speak to Mary and ask her if what I've said is true, which honestly pissed me off. After everything I've told her, she still wants to crawl to Mary because, apparently, what her actual daughter says isn't good enough. She tried to justify it since Mary is her daughter too and it's unfair to just hear out my side of the story, alright? But you already had a heartfelt conversation with Mary in which she was lying to you completely? After she said all of that we started a screaming match. I know, not healthy, but it honestly felt so damn good to just let it all out. To say that I cried heavily out of frustration after talking to my mom is an understatement, and I'm so glad that my fiancé was with me because I sure as hell wouldn't have been able to drive home safely. But, on a good note, I got ice cream and we watched my favorite show when we arrived back home, which made things better, lol. I haven't told my mom that I'm considering not inviting her to my wedding. We're not planning to get married until next year anyway, so there's still enough time for her to make up her mind about who she'd rather believe, and I don't want to create too big of a rift between us. As for mutual friends who took Mary's side, I've decided not to respond to them. I'm not sure if Mary told them the same story that she told my parents, but I honestly don't care. I don't want to see Mary ever again, and mutual friends would make that a whole lot harder than it needs to be. Besides, they're not my only friends or close friends of mine. Dave's also okay with me not running after them to clear his name. If this whole situation should leave this friend group and turn public, I'm going to contact them, but right now, we don't see a point in dealing with Mary's minions. Right now I'm just hoping that Mary messes up her story somehow and that my mom is going to see her for who she really is. While she's been acting absolutely disgusting towards me and basically chooses Mary over me in this situation, I think that I can look past this. It's my mom after all. Cutting off friends is one thing, but cutting off close family? That's a whole different story, and I'll try to mend things the best I can. If she's going to stay loyal to Mary. I don't know what I'm going to do, but that's not something I have to think about right now.